People, let's get together. Stop all this fussing and fighting. Let's love one another. You gotta help your mother, help your father, help your brothers, help your sisters, help your neighbors and your friends. We are one people, one nation, one destiny. Everybody, y'all. One people, one nation, one destiny. Yeah, yeah. Separated. Now we are freer. That's the way it should be. You gotta help your mother, help your father, help your sister, help your brothers, help your neighbors and your friends. We are one people, one nation, one destiny. Yeah, yeah. One people, one nation, one destiny. Yeah, 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 yeah. Ooh. We are one people, one nation, one destiny. Yeah, yeah. One people, one nation, one destiny. Let's get together. Stop all this fussing and fighting. Let's love one another. You gotta help your mother, help your father, help your brothers, help your sisters, help your neighbors and your friends. We are one people, one nation, one destiny. Everybody, y'all. One people, one nation, one destiny. Yeah, yeah.
Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
If you are looking to have your statutory declaration, affidavit of income, identity, damage or lost passport, lost license, tenancy agreement, agreement of settlement, power of attorney, last will and testament, and certification of documents, then you need to visit the Alistair Collins firm, located at the Kellyan Mall, 162 Lamaha Street in Georgetown, between Camp and Waterloo Street. Alistair Collins is a commissioner of oaths and a justice of the peace. Make certain you visit him or call for more information at 649-6410 or 685-6448 or 503-1451. And there's adequate parking available. Go down to the Alistair Collins firm and have all of your legal issues settled and brought to the fore. Alistair Collins Firm. Contact them at Alistair Collins Firm.
Hi, good evening and welcome to Straight Up. My name is Mark Benchap, and what is it? It's 6 minutes after 9 o'clock. It's a holiday in Guyana. Doesn't it seem, it feels like it's a holiday every day in Guyana? Oh, gosh, I don't know. Every other day is a holiday. Yesterday was the 1st of May, and it's May Day. They call it May Day, Labor Day, and so forth and so on. I want to salute all of the workers. And I also want to take the time out to salute all of the legitimate, the hardworking union leaders in Guyana, those who don't give up or buckle when they're under pressure. Well, I have one individual who doesn't buckle, and he has always been fighting the good fight on behalf of the people, all of the people of Guyana. He's still battling for us. He's been battling for a while, and I salute him. Is Lincoln Brandon Lewis. He is with us this evening. But before we get to Mr. Well, he likes to be addressed as comrade, and I want to be politically correct with my guest this evening. Comrade Lincoln Brandon Lewis is with us. He's already in studio. Lemon has signaled that. Let me also say assalamu alaikum to all of our Muslim brothers and sisters who are tuned in this evening. Happy Eid Mubarak. Today happens to be that. And so I salute all of our Muslim brothers and sisters all across Guyana and around the world. Lots of things we want to talk about, right? Lots of things. I want to say hi to some of our guests before we get, some of our listeners. I see some are locked in from work, some are locked in from a basement, some are locked in from their attics. Some are just locked in for the sake of locking in, right? Thank all of you so much every single night. And whoever this person is, Mr. Collins, thank you. Collins actually asked people to share the link. Share the link, that's all. And we just say it maybe once or twice, share the link, and that's all we do. I notice, and thank you all for sharing the link indeed, right? I noticed Nadia. Nadia, how are you doing? She missed the holidays in Guyana, right? People love holidays in Guyana, but not in the US. You still got to go out. You got to do your thing, right? You got to go out and you got to do your thing. Now, I don't want to have our guest waiting in the backstage at all. It's disrespectful. And so let me just ensure, thank you, Lemon, if we can get our guest on. And we welcome him, Lincoln Brandon Lewis. Mr. Lewis, or Comrade Lewis, how are you? How have you been?
I'm happy today, man. Labor Day is a day for me to be happy. A day that set aside for workers to look at the history and development of the struggle.
Yeah, and it seems as though you've been doing some work even in your house, even in your yard. I noticed your laundry basket is right behind you there. You're still working.
I am a person who look after these type of things,
Yeah, and I know
I don't wait for anybody to do them for me.
I hear you're a hard worker. You've been fighting for the rights of workers throughout the country. You have been doing so for many, many years, and I salute you for that, sir. But give us a quick walkthrough of what the day was like yesterday. Of course, with the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, it has stopped you guys for about 2 years from having a real march. What was the march like yesterday, sir?
Basically, I'll tell you, we were surprised, in fact. after, coming after the hiatus of the 2 years pandemic, we were not expecting the response that we had yesterday from the workers in general. We had a number of, in fact, we had all the affiliates of the TUC, which included the CCW, and we had also in our contingent a contingent from NASI, which is a part of FITL, they marched with us yesterday. Primarily those who are employed in the Guyana Power, GPL, Guyana Power Limited, So we had a great contingent yesterday.
And
the
you're
teachers come
satisfied
up
with
large
that? You're
numbers.
satisfied with the turnout?
I'm satisfied with the response, man. I'm very satisfied. I'll tell you something. We're not listening to the detractors any longer. We're not focusing on them. We are focusing on what we want to achieve. And the workers were very responsive to what the labor leaders who represented the trade union, represented the trade union Congress, had to say.
Absolutely. Lincoln Lewis is with us this evening. I've noticed an article in one of the newspapers in Guyana where Irfan Ali is saying that he respects or he wants to talk with union leaders and these sort of things. Do you believe that, or is just a Labor Day kind of like political rhetoric?
Well, let me tell you something, Mark. I always, as a trade unionist, always give the person who makes the comment an opportunity to not only speak about it, but to act on it. I'll be awaiting the moment when the president will act on his comment that he's prepared to meet with the trade union and to talk with trade union leaders about development. This is important. I'm not going to knock him at this juncture as it relates to what he said, but I will hold him to his word to make sure that he honors it. I know if he don't mean it, and when the trade union decide that we are going to hold him accountable for what he has said, not only him, but his cohorts and his friends will say that we are out of order and we should not demand this of the president. We will have to do it. It's important. Give him a chance.
I was actually looking. Thank you so much. In a Starbuck News article, Irfan Ali is actually saying here that he wants to work with trade unions, right? He wants to work with trade unions, but in other words, they have to calm down. They're too loud. They have to calm on their rancor. In other words, before you guys speak with him, you guys have to calm down and behave yourself before you go to master.
I want to tell you, I don't know, just advise politicians, many of them. They need to remember that whenever they tell you, oh, you must behave and what you must say, it reminds us of the era of the massa. The colonials used to tell you, oh, you must behave. The slave master used to tell you, oh, you must behave. Are we seeing a repeat of that now? The president needs to, to walk back these things, Don't just talk about it. Don't make messy statements. I have seen this. I have seen the president while they were in opposition, outside of Pegasus. I've seen him when Granger was in the Pegasus making a presentation. When another member of parliament stood up and confronted Granger in the parliament. They were vehicle. You had the Minister of Foreign Affairs, which he was, I believe, comments. Vehicle was about to be overturned. He was unseen. is it that because was it being a good thing for the ministers to say that for the president at the time to say that I'm not going to meet with the opposition because of this what they've done?
Let
me yesterday you have had.
If you can go ahead, sir. I wanted to show the evidence of which you just spoke of, but make your point.
Okay, good. Until yesterday, you had the sugar workers confronting the trade union leaders at the Fit Up rally at NIS ground. Is it that how they behave, you will say that you're not going to address their problems? You're not going to talk with their representative? You're not going to talk with them? We have to be careful of what we say, you know? And the president has to, you know, you got to walk these things back or think them out before he speaks about them.
It's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult for him to do that. But let me show the people the evidence of which you spoke of just a couple of seconds ago about how Irfan Ali behaved. And then yet he's talking about approach and how people's tone and how they should speak and how they should address issues. This is Irfan Ali, the real Irfan Ali. Yeah, this is the same Irfan Ali that is talking about how people should, I don't know, continue. You saw that video. Thousands of people saw it before, and they're seeing it now again.
You know, I'm not going to be nobody. You know, I'll tell you something. The only condition that we will have before I meet with people, meet with leaders of government, is an agenda. Nobody will say to me how I must behave and what I must speak on and what I must not speak on. That's interference into the business of the trade union. And the ILO Convention speaks specifically that no one, the employer nor the government, has that responsibility or ought to be involved in the internal affairs of all the trade union. As long as we conform to the laws that are existing, so be it. This issue about laws,
isn't it ironic how these very individuals, how they behave worse than animals? We saw Irfan Ali's behavior there is talking about decency and how people should speak. I don't know. Lincoln, I see a question here, sir, from Viren Bryan, and this question is directed to you. Do you think the union still have bargaining power? Explain.
The union is relevant. The union has bargaining power, but the union in exercising that power, what you need is not only the internal solidarity, internal support, but you need the solidarity from political operatives and so forth, and other civic organizations and individuals. If you, not because times have changed, but while time may have overcome us from the time that we have started, the trade union started in the early 20th century, 1900. While that has happened, one of the things that we need to understand, that exploitation is more rampant today. In the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s, you had a government that could have protected us as citizens, as workers, from the rampage of foreign investors and even our local crooks, right? You had a government could have done that. Today, the government and those people who are there to exploit not only resources, but the labor of the people, the sweat of the people, and pay them the minimum, or if possible, nothing at all. They are in the same box planning how they are going to do it, at the exclusion of the representatives of the workers. And until such time that workers realize that that they are the union, we are going to be spinning around where we are right now. You know, let me give you an example. A union sent out WhatsApp messages to a group of workers working in the oil industry. And incidentally, one person from the list took it to the management and said to the management, this union is organizing workers into their fold. And the management called a meeting. And within an hour after that meeting, of the 147 persons whose names appear on the list that the message was sent to, it was only 5 of them left who said they will remain. All the rest of them sent back messages to the union, said they don't want to be part of it. It tells you the fear that permeates the society, where even people who come to the union hall and say that they need to be a member of the union, if the management find out that they were at the union hall, they deny you as how Peter denied Christ. So the union is relevant. Workers in many industries recognize that, but they do have the fear. You know, let me give you another. I'm glad that the person have asked the question. You know, every time I worked in Bauxite, and nearly every strike that they've had, I was in it. Not as a leader, but I've been there supporting. The first time I'm hearing workers asking me, leaving Linden and come to Georgetown, I've had an experience. Workers asking me in Georgetown, if a strike are going to get paid, if I'm going to get paid. Not understanding that is when you strike is a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice to put things right, to advance and to protect and advance your future. I see all of that to say to you that the success of the union is dependent on the sacrifices of its members. If you don't want to make sacrifices, you're not going to succeed.
You know,
that's
indeed, sacrifices have to be made. Well said, Lincoln. But many, many years ago, I recall as a little boy, and folks within my family who were members, not members, but union leaders. One happens to be your very good friend, who's my dad. But during the Burnham era, union leaders were not afraid to call a strike. Union leaders were not afraid to call the workers out. And not even during those times. We saw what happened in 1997 after the questionable elections. Of course, there was an elections petition, and the PPP lost that elections petition 4+ years after. Why is it that we're not hearing much strike and to see the people out there, especially when their rights are being violated?
Let me say to you, Mark, the big thing about it is 1997. You think about the people in the workforce now. 1997, 2007, right? Think about it now. Those people who are in the workforce now, many of them were not in the workforce then. And what has happened from 1997 coming through, it is a battering that the trade union has had, and workers even in the public sector primarily. Like a lot of people were told that if you be a member of the trade union, if you be you can come on board, you can be employed, but don't look for pensionable job. Look for a contractual job. You'll put you on a contract. We're going to pay you what we call we're going to pay you maybe a couple dollars more than what is expected. And every 3 months you get a gratuity, or 6 months you get a gratuity. You pay them that. And what they were socialized to believe, that you live for today and you don't put anything down, or you don't plan for wet weathers down the road, right? So what has happened is that a number of persons in the workforce look at instant gratification today. So if you want to call a strike, many of these people in the public sector, in the public service, in the public sector, in fact, you want to call a strike, many of these people, they're either casuals or they are workers under a certain contract, or they have 1 year or a 2 year contract. So those people are afraid to come off the job because their contract will not be. So the government itself has done so much wrong and so much battering to the workforce. Because of that, many persons will not come to strike. You have to understand the circumstance.
All right, 27 minutes after 9 o'clock. My guest this evening, Lincoln Brandon Lewis, is with us, talking trade unions matter, workers' rights, and so forth. Many of our listeners may not know this, but the Guyana Police, members of the Guyana Police Force, they don't have a union to represent them. Unlike, let us say, NYPD or other police departments in the US and other places around the world. In Guyana, there's no union, none whatsoever. Explain why.
I want to tell you what has happened. I guarantee you that by the time the next May Day, there will be people who are going to be fighting for a union. Those policemen are going to be fighting for a union. The constitution of this country says every worker have the right to join a trade union of his choice. But the Trade Union Recognition Act in itself says that if you are in the fire service, police force, or army, you can't join a union. That's what they did. But people have come to realize now that the law is in conflict with the Constitution. And it will be only matter of time when it will be challenged in the court of this land. Right? There already are efforts to put this union together. So let me put them on notice that will happen. We will have to get them, the police will be moving for a union.
And the time has come for them to be unionized indeed, just like other parts of the world. The police need proper representation. But let me allow you.
Mark, before you move on,
sure.
Let me say to you, when the union is formed, then nobody in the government, like in the police association, will be able to say who must become the chairman or who become the vice chair. The workers, the policemen, they are the people who will decide who will be their leaders.
Absolutely. Lincoln Lewis is with us this evening. Lincoln, I want you to listen to this tape of the CEO for Linden Hospital Complex talking to nurses, talking to workers, What do you see wrong, if at all anything, in what is being said in this video by Mr. Small, Rudy Small?
The cause of nurses at Linden Hospital Complex. I give you my pledge to work tirelessly, night and day, to make the bonds between us stronger. If God is for us, who can be against us?
You've heard him. This is a guy who has terminated unjustly dozens of nurses out there in Linden. He's talking about if God is for us, no one is against us, or whatever. What is your take on what you heard there, Lincoln?
Let me tell you something. I want to tell you, Mark, I've been around a long time. The greatest strength of a number of the leaders that we find now is that they have no shame. There is a strength, Those nurses, all they did is to say to this man, we don't believe you. That's what he said. They're saying to him, we don't believe you. And we need to understand that. That guy should have gone a long time. For less than that, many people, many managers have not done what this guy did. And they were kicking bricks. Who protect him, I don't know.
Lincoln, let's move on now in terms of the treatment of bauxite workers. It seems as though they have no rights. No one is really standing up other than yourself, and I'm speaking no one in the regime seem to care about union workers. They're focusing on an industry that is actually dead. That's sugar. And sugar workers have far more rights than bauxite workers. I feel in general, workers should all be treated equally across the board. But in the case of the bauxite workers, we're seeing them being treated worse than third-class citizens by this installed regime. What is your direct address to the regime as to their treatment of bauxite workers?
Let me tell you, Mark. Let me tell you what these people did. We have written the Minister of Labor, Mr. Hamilton, and remind him that we have at this ministry a complaint against Bauxite Company Guyana Incorporated, of which the Guyana government is part owner of that company. We said to him, look, there were incorrect calculations of the terminal benefits of a number of persons. And we need to sit down and we look at it. Get the management. He's refusing to do so. Let me tell you how they calculated the people money. They took the gross pay for the year. If your gross pay, if you were working, if your gross pay was, say, $2 million or $1 million, what they did, they calculate it by 365 days. And then they arrive at a day pay. 365 days, and then they arrive at the great pay. Then they said, well, this day pay now, if you're entitled to 50 days pay or 40 days pay, that day pay is calculated by 40 days. When a man works in a company like RUSA, like BCGI, that man works a 40 hours per week. And because he works 40 hours per week, you will take 40 hours. It is 40 hours divided, multiply by his rate of pay to arrive at his total. What they did was to take 7 days in each week. ended up at 52 weeks. So the calculation is wrong. You get less money than what you're entitled to. And that is before the ministry. And neither the chief labor officer nor the minister, neither one of them can see where the error is. And you know why it is so? Because both of them are green dongs. They don't understand. We just take them and we put them there. They don't understand these things. For you to conciliate or for you to conciliate in a matter, you need to understand the issues. And the second thing, you need to understand the principles of conciliating. These guys, that matter is before them for a long time. The issue of the dismissals that that occurred over a number of years, they're still in front of them. The violation of occupational and safety thing, they're in front of them. Hear what the minister says to me. He says that the company is not operating. The issue is not operating. The issue, it is a legal entity in this country that is on the books, is on the records, still have installations here. And the workers should be compensated. We should address it. And if you compensate, if the company has failed to compensate workers for something, then the ministry has a responsibility to address that issue. The other thing is that what happens here is that they decided that they're not going to treat with any matter from the bauxite industry. But sugar is challenged with similar matters. But they will address them. And these are serious concerns.
Yeah, I've noticed that one of our listeners is saying that the reason why bauxite workers are being treated in this manner is because they are predominantly of African descent. Do you buy into that?
If I buy into that?
Yes.
Well, let me tell you what. That's an opinion that is expressed by not only the person who is there. In the halls of public opinion, that is what the people believe. That if they're not supporters of they're African people and they're not supporters of they're not perceived to be supporters of the PPP, and that's why they be treated like that.
And so they're ill-treated. But let me ask you this. Under the coalition, I know that there has been some struggle in terms of respecting the rights of bauxite workers as well. Were there any different sort of treatment, under the coalition government compared to the sort of treatment bauxite workers are getting now under this installed regime?
During the coalition, we were. Let me just backtrack. When it was Barra Jadlio presidency, the then minister was refusing to meet with the union and bring the union and the management to the table. The then minister Mansmadi was refusing to do so. Under Ramotar, we were able to have an act of doing what we call some wall of compulsory arbitration. And the matter was in the court, and God bless the dead. What the Chief Justice said in court, when what he has written is the opposite to what he said, Yan Chang, right? When the coalition came to power, it was They tried to bring the parties to the table. They were successful at some point in doing so. But we have not had the matter resolved. We have not had the matter resolved. For some reason, after I believe when the coalition, when BCGI, the Russell management recognized that the management, that the government was coming after them to say that they must have resolution, he said what they did was to close the operation. They threatened to close the operation, and the union did not budge and the workers did not budge. The workers said, if they want to close, then they pay us. And when it come to paying, they calculated the payments of the workers so as to rob them. That matter is in front of the Ministry of Labor.
Of which this
And
guy,
since this government, and since it happened, this guy has not called us, has not called or tried to call a meeting between the parties. He's saying that the company closed. Company closed, the company has an installation, and the company is still a registered organization in the books. Go to the registry, you want to see it's there. They believe that people stupid. Yeah.
all right. So this guy is the current installed Minister of Labor. Lincoln Lewis is saying that he has not invited any of the parties, at least not the unions, to meet to discuss the matter and the way forward in respecting the rights of workers. But what we have noticed, though, of recent is the installation of IMC. We see an IMC with a co-op in Linden and other parts of Guyana. They're attempting to do that. What is your take on that, Mr. Lewis?
Let me tell you something. The PPP, I've been saying it before. The PPP, when it comes to the community or a group of people that the PPP perceives not to support them, not have voted for them, like the NDCs, the credit unions, the cooperatives, what they do, they use the law and they say, here's something. You didn't vote for me, but I am going to tell you who will be your leaders. We're going to use some section, something of the law to appoint some people who will lead you. That's how they behave. That's the modus operandi of the PPP. But I'll tell you something. You know why they can do that? And you know who they use? They use the people. For it, if it's an African community, they use an African man to go and do it. That is how they operate. You know, if you remember, let us take, for instance, the same guy you showed here. Before he became a parliamentarian, or what? He went to the platform first and he denounced the PNC. If you remember, go back to it. What they do with them, people like them, they put them on the political platform to first denounce the PNC, and denounce other people. And then they will hug them and bring them in the fold, say they're good boys. These are the men and women who are dangerous. They are prepared to sell their soul for a mess of pottage.
I don't recall anything much politically of this guy, but I do recall that during the days before he became political, he was basically a plantain chip vendor. Nothing is wrong with selling plantain chips, but I'm just reminding the listeners, in case you recognize him, yes, he's the guy that used to walk around selling plantain chips. So he's the plantain chips Joe. Lincoln, there's a situation I want you to talk about, because you're not just about workers' rights, you're about human rights and every rights in Guyana. What is your take on this situation when you heard about this cop who fell asleep, allegedly after he worked 20 hours? And then this is a TSU rank that is guarding the house or the home of ministerial advisor. What is your take on one, the cop falling asleep, having worked after work 20 hours? Speak on the issue, please.
I want to tell you a few things about it. First of all, I don't know we end up guarding this man. I can't understand how these people believe they can take our money and pay people for guard people or do all these things. What is this man doing for us? Is he entitled under some section of the law or the Constitution to this service that we want to give to him? These are questions we got to ask. And secondly, the man, I heard that this guy has been charged. The man who's supposed to be charged are his supervisors. Are his supervisors. Those people who supervising this man. To get this man 18 or 20 hours sitting down without food, without water, with a gun in his hand. Those are the people who should be disciplined. The people who do the charge, you've got the wrong man.
You know, Lincoln, I did speak with the acting commissioner of police, Hicken, and he said that no charges have been filed against the police rank in question. There will be no charges. There will be just a warning. That's according to the acting top cop.
Warning for what? Mark, a warning that's telling you that you're guilty.
Because it is a breach to fall asleep with a weapon in your hand. It's according to the
there's a breach. There's a breach to have a man 20 hours with a weapon in his hand.
According to
no food, no water.
It's a neglect of duty. What is it? The prison law 1701, a breach of duty. But continue, sir. I got your point. 20 hours. That is being investigated according to the acting top cop. I just thought that I mentioned that when I contacted him. That's
no warning. No warning. Let me tell you something. Whose responsibility it was to get food to this man, water to this man, and get a relief? Was it his responsibility? It was not his responsibility. And because it was not his responsibility, then you go to the man who is responsible.
Well, there was supposed to be an investigation. I don't know what's the status of that investigation, but that's when I last spoke with the acting top cop. He did say there was an investigation launched. But getting back to a police rank guarding someone a low level. And this is not to disrespect ministerial advisors, but ministerial advisors should not be given policemen guarding their homes or policewomen guarding their homes. Not at all. What is your take on that, and how should it be addressed?
I've made a point already. It's an abuse of privilege. It's an abuse of the consolidated funds. That man is an ordinary citizen advising a minister. He has sworn to anything that the minister. Why should he get the same guard that the minister get into? These are things we got to take note of.
Yeah,
we cannot have this continue like that.
It cannot continue business as usual. I did ask the acting top cop whether this is unusual, because we need our policemen and women out there to protect us, not to protect these guys who are not even entitled for this sort of security. Now, a security guard, yeah, from somewhere else, but not a TSU rank.
I want to tell you something, Mark. It's not security guard. Whether it's a security guard, not a TSU rank, somebody else. No guard at all. He's an ordinary citizen and he wants a guard, he must pay for it.
Well,
this is
exactly,
abusing the consolidated fund, abusing a privileged position. Whosoever is doing it.
You know, so someone is asking here, Ms. Simons is asking, did the top cop keep his word? That thus far, Ms. Simons, there has been no report that the cop has been charged at all, and the cop should not be charged. There are other matters.
Well, you know, Mark, you made a point. You made a point. You say when you talk to him, you say, you never be charged. What we may get is a warning. But you're still investigating. You have not yet agreed. You have not yet arrived.
They're investigating.
You have not yet arrived. You have not yet arrived at a decision, but you decide already that when the man will get is a warning.
No,
the offense.
Neglect of.
Let me make this point, Mark.
Sure.
Let me make this point.
Go ahead.
Sir. The penalty, guilt and penalty will have to be determined after the inquiry, you know, not before. Not before. It's like putting the cart in front of the horse. To save face, we don't hear warning. No warning. Investigate, let me find out who is culpable. God.
All right, thank you for that. It's whether there was a breach. There was a breach of the 20-hour, because no cop should be allowed. No one should be allowed to work 20 hours. And who was actually responsible for that? I'm getting your point. Trust me, I'm getting your point. But at the end of the day, and this is not to be against the cop, there is a neglect of duty according to 1701. And no one wants a police officer, policeman, to fall asleep with a big gun like that in his lap, just like that. Anything can happen. Absolutely, anything can happen. But then again, he's human as well.
But the man also regarding, he has no damn decency. You see a man there for 12 hours inside there guarding you. You're going to ask him, you're going to question something?
No, apparently that's not where he spent the 20 hours. That's not where he spent the 20 hours. But I'd love to get to the bottom of this even more. I promise our viewers that I will get to the bottom of it by tomorrow evening and bring it to their attention. Lincoln, let's move on to NIS, something that you're familiar with. NIS, the National Insurance Scheme, came about during the PNC days to ensure that workers have something to look forward to when they reach retirement age, and these manner of things. The PPP has wrecked and destroyed and abused that agency by taking billions of dollars out to give to their friends and cronies for investments. A couple of days ago, Bara Jagdeo, a guy who destroyed NIS, is saying that NIS is now bankrupt. Your take, sir.
The NIS has serious financial problems. Serious financial problems. And let me tell you this. Regardless, it cannot be full because it's supported by the consolidated fund. But let me tell you something. We have written, the TUC wrote to President Granger and Bara Jagdeo, and we said to them, when Barrett was opposition leader and Granger was president, we made the point to them that now that we are going to have this oil money, we are suggesting two things to them. One, put some money into the consolidated fund. Two is that the NIS made provision from the inception for unemployment benefit. We said activate that section of the NIS law. Put system in place for unemployment benefit. Because you live in a society, NIS is the only safety fund we have, you know. We live in a society where when people lost their job moving from one job to the other, it may take them 6 to 8 months before they find a job. And in so doing, if you activate the unemployment section of it, that person can get something to carry them over, to help them to catch themselves. Neither, my gentlemen, have responded to us. NIS is in critical overall. All the what we call them actuarial studies over the years, they have never implemented them. Some of them call for increase in contribution, and every time they speak about increasing contribution, the private sector has opposed it. And many of them, while they oppose it, many of them don't even pay when they deduct workers' money. These are serious issues. So Mr. Jagdeo can say what the hell he likes. There's the people got to hold him accountable, and he got to deliver something for the workers and the citizens of this country to our wishes. NIS used to take place at what you call, take care of when you get pensioners and so on, when they get sick. You know, the pharmaceuticals that they buy and so on, they used to pay for them type of thing. They don't pay for them any longer. That benefit has been taken away. People have lost. The NIS have not been doing the things that it used to do 15 and 20 years ago. And apart from that, there are ministers now who call in the NIS and telling them there are people who work or left this country for years, didn't make their contribution. They're calling them now, their friends and the cohorts are calling the NIS and tell them this person has to get and that person has to get and that person has to pay, when they can't justify that the period that they're talking about, that they were employment in this country. What they're doing is we now become a cow for family and friends, where they're demanding NISP benefits to people, some of them who have never contributed.
You know, we have over the years, we saw what Jagdeo did and the PPP, but specifically Jagdeo, what he did to NIS money. Billions of dollars he took and gave it to friends and cronies, private investors for the Berbice River Bridge and so forth. And now years after, that he has caused the agency, the NIS, to be where it is today. Thank God the coalition attempted to resurrect that NIS, because they saw then the importance of NIS and the respect of people's hard-earned money that was placed into that agency for when they reach retirement age. Jagdeo is not concerned about that. The PPP is not concerned about that at all. They're not concerned about people's retirement and how they survive thereafter. What is your take on him trying to play this innocent role by suggesting that NIS became in this state as a result of neglect by the coalition government?
That is basic politics. And when you get yourself cornered, you tie yourself up in it, you also to wriggle out. Them 700 workers that they talk about, let me tell you something. When I went on the NIS board, was in 2015. I went on the NIS board. And I want to tell you what I've seen there. When I went on NIS board, the organization that owed the largest sum of money was Gaisuku.
No, wait a minute.
Gaisuku,
Wait a minute.
owed the largest sum of money to thing.
1 second, please,
That-
because we want 1 second, sir. We want to be able to get this straight. Are you saying, repeat what you just said about who owes the largest?
I'm saying that the largest sum of money that was owed to NIS when I went on the board in 2015, it was Gaisuku, right? And well, there were persons who believed that the workers ought not to have ought to be given benefit. But the laws of the NIS say very clear. That is not the laws, and the question here is not the worker ought to punish. It is the employer who did not pay money that didn't pay need to be taken to court. Need to be held accountable. In this specific case here, was Gaisuku and his management. What has happened is that over the period, Jordan, who was Minister of Finance, worked with Gaisuku to make sure that monies are drawn from the consolidated fund to pay for the NIS pay and seek to liquidate it. So apart from that, that 7,000 that you're talking about, Mr. Jagdew raised, that were fired and so on. That's 7,000. Many of those people who, even if he says 7 and like Sosco said 4,000 something, it's not here or there. But most of the people went on and get different jobs other places. So that is not a big thing. Say they have created such a the impact in moving in increasing the deficit in the NIS. That has not contributed to it. And the records, as publicized by the general manager, confirms that. So when you talk about the 7,000, the 7,000 came subsequent to the large sum of money that Gaisuku did not pay over to the NIS. It came subsequent to that. That money that the Gaisuku had owed was long before those people were sent home. So that's it. So the scheme has been, this scheme had run into problems long now.
Apart from lacking
long now.
He runs from the truth at all times. Before we
no,
go,
Mr. Jagdew don't run from the truth, you know. If the truth follow Mr. Jagdew, he won't even recognize it.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Look at this here now in terms of oil investors and people who are given the opportunity to invest and be part of the oil industry and all these manner of things in Guyana. Here it is. They have another technology conference out there in Houston, Texas, and we hardly, if at all, any other businessmen or businessmen or women other than one particular ethnic group. Nobody seems to find this problematic at all. Or even when we discuss these matters, we are being described as racist. It seems as though we must just sit back and accept things. And look, your take on this photograph that does not show a true representation of Guyana.
Yes, it is so. I believe that those people who they perceive not to have supported them, voted for them, they have decided that they will have no place in sharing of the national patrimony. I'll tell you what needs to be done. I believe now that you have had a leader of the opposition being elected, you had a break where one demitted office and you had another one. I believe that one need to do. Oil is supposed to be, the question of oil and contracts need to be put on the table. We have to start talking about affirmative action in this country. We have to start mobilizing that a section of this society, there must be contract, there must be something put aside for them.
You know, Lincoln, you're talking, 1 second, you're talking about affirmative action now. Many years ago, you were talking about economic genocide. Some folks called you racist. Some folks attacked you. They later joined you and agreed with you that, yes, there was a large form of economic genocide in Guyana being practiced under the PPP and Jack Dale regime. Now you're talking about affirmative action. Continue.
Well, all fall within the same sphere. I've identified the problem that economically systems a program has been conceptualized, developed, and implemented to keep a certain people out of the economic fold of this country. They have done that. I see it as economic genocide. I'm saying to you that we need to move beyond that. We need to demand now, that a section of or some section of the pie, or the portion of the pie, be left for a section of this society. We have to do that. And if it requires doing things that are not normally accepted, then we'll have to do it. We have to do it. You have, as I said earlier, you have a new leader of the opposition. We need to put we need to put a program in front of him. The leader of the opposition can't go with a program where he believes is his program. He got to be he represent half of this society, of which I'm a part of that half. And I will wish that we put a program in front of him with a number of issues.
Before we go, Lincoln, have you had a chance to meet, to sit down, to discuss from the union standpoint serious matters with the leader of the opposition now, Mr. Aubrey Compton-Norton, who is also a leader of the PNCR?
Not yet.
Whose fault is that? Has he extended an invitation?
Well, it's not a question of whose fault. I am looking forward for the time to come when we're going to do that. In the meantime, the TUC is working on its program. Or we are going to dust out the things that we have on our agenda and put them in front of him.
Quickly, before we go, somebody here says the leader of the opposition is firing people. I don't know whether that is accurate or not, but I see here there's a report. There's a report about Miss Jones. This is the young lady, the brave young lady who was out there, went out there, put her life on the line, put her job on the line to take the matter, the elections matter, to court. She has lost her job. She has been there when a lot of people within the coalition were afraid to sneeze, they were afraid to go out, they were afraid to speak out, and so forth. I don't know what's behind this story here, but certainly it's not propaganda. Your take when you saw this story, sir, assuming you saw it.
Let me tell you what, I've seen it, and I as from my own vantage point, I have decided that come tomorrow, I'm going to call to find out what really happened in this case, specific case here. I will have to. Because I see it and I recognize that it was written by, it came from a newspaper, I believe it's Guyana Chronicle or something like that.
It's almost 24 hours, it has not been denied.
Right, I will watch, as long as Chronicle, I will want to be cautious and I want to get the facts from the operatives who were named there.
Fair
I will
enough.
call them.
I got you, sir.
Well, let me tell you before I go, Mark. Let me tell you something.
Sure. Yeah.
Let me tell you something. I want to tell you something. You know, as a trade unionist, I am getting so concerned about this society. What I'm seeing now and what I hear now, I never heard them in the past. I heard this Minister of Labor, Hamilton, sitting down on Labor Day to tell people who must go from the trade union, who old and who must go and all kind of thing. I want to tell you something. I want to send a message. I want to tell you. Let me tell you something I want to tell Hamilton. He is an old fowl. Blasted spring chicken. So you don't tell people about who old. He's a pensioner like me. Jagdio, Gail Teixeira, Robeson Ben, Ejil, the Prime Minister. All of us are blasted pensioners. So you don't come and tell people about who must go. I want to tell you a message for all of them. Lincoln Lewis will leave. When they leave, because my task is to keep them from pushing their hand further down in the consolidated fund, like it's their money, it's their pocket piece. I'm going to leave. I'm going to stop them. So long they're in power, I have nowhere to go. And more so, let me tell them that they don't have any damn right to tell me when I must go. They didn't elect me. I participated in the process that elected them. And I have a right to speak about what they do. They don't have no damn right to speak about what I do. They're interfering into the internal affairs of the trade union movement. They're in breach of article of Convention 87 of the ILO. They're wicked men and women. So they don't for tell people who must go and who must go. But look them. Look at these. They believe they get a right. Even though they meet retired, they believe they get a right to continue. Right? But nobody else must continue. The right is theirs. Well, Hamilton, I am so disappointed in this man. He was in the PNC. He left PNC, jumped to GGG. He left GGG, he left Them Agree GGG. He jumped back to PNC. Then he left PNC and he jumped to the, what are you looking for? He's looking for the consolidated fund by, minister. Why touch you before? For all the things you did to people, as minister, it may touch you. These things won't touch you. Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth and do what you ought to be doing. You are involved in ageism. You are in breach of the UN conventions. You don't talk to people. If publicly as a minister telling people age, think about what privately people gonna think you're doing. I know the man. Oh, damn good.
All right.
You understand me?
Yeah.
And let me tell you, Mark. Mark, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something, Mark. Let me make it very clear. I don't want, let me tell them something. Lincoln Lewis is not one of the men who are interested in an invitation for a cocktail party or anything like that. I can go. I have friends. I'm comfortable among them. I have many. I don't go to the places where or mix with the people who I got to get my dagger in my sacks and the other one get gun in the waist and you wait to see who will pull first. I don't have a gun, a firearm, I don't have one. I don't need one because I live a decent life. I don't want guard and I don't need guard because the people will guard me. So hell was Hamilton and the whole group of them. He's not a spring chicken and he must understand that. And let the other pensioners like myself, shut them out or get out. When they set the example, me gonna follow. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Lincoln Lewis. 14 minutes after 10 o'clock. Again, thank you so much for what you do. And you have been doing that for many, many years. Those folks have no moral authority. They have no right to tell people who must go and who shouldn't go. In fact, Hamilton should not have been there. Hamilton is not a man of the people. He's not about workers' rights. He's just, maybe he should go as quickly as possible. But next elections, or maybe before, the people will let them go. They're the ones that should go. But Lincoln, your closing remarks, please, sir.
I want to urge the viewers, the workers, and the leaders in the trade union movement that we need to hold hands and crusade across this country. Yesterday showed us that there's a core of people who still believe that the trade union has a role to play in this society. And what we have to do is fire it up, energize it, and make sure that we keep these guys on the run. We need to do that. Thank you. Thanks to the viewers. Thanks to the members of the trade union. Thanks to the workers of this country. Aluta continue.
Thank you so much, Lincoln, Brandon, Lewis, veteran trade unionists. Salute, sir. Appreciate it. All right, Lincoln B. Lewis there for us. My name is Mark Benchop. We will be back tomorrow, same place, same time. Don't forget tomorrow, the mid-morning show. We have our guys doing their thing. Earl, Bishop, and others tomorrow morning. But quickly before I go, I saw this comment earlier, and you know, some of the silly comments and silly things people say and people do. Sometimes you wonder how much human being, especially some of these ridiculous statements, comments that we see from a Suresh Badrinath. Here is what this guy is saying. Take a look. In New York, home care workers regularly work 24 hours straight. And they bring their own food and never require anyone to provide for them. Is that really the issue with the cop? Own food? Is the cop saying that somebody should provide for them? Is this guy for real? This got to be one of those real hardcore PPP trenchy. And you know what has to, he's got to get something before we go. You guys think, right? Should we give him something before he goes? Because where these guys come from, eh? Where do they pop out from? Well, might have an idea where they pop out from, but, you know, what's happening with these guys? What nurse works for 24 hours? Look, we got something new for this guy, Suresh. We might as well have him sample it for tonight. This is for Suresh before we go.
You know, I guessed that you would be the only one who would dare to come here. You've got courage.
He's got courage to come here and talk nonsense. He has got courage, right? Let's give it to him one more time so that he can get the message that it's. Let's give him it one more time, please.
You know, I guessed that you would be the only one who would dare to come here. You've got courage.
These guys are ridiculous. We'll be back tomorrow. Same place, same time, right? Right here on 107.1 FM. Don't forget tomorrow, the mid-morning show. And Earl and the guys will do their thing. But remember, it's, what is it, Labor Day in Guyana? It's a holiday, and it's also Eid. So happy Labor Day to all you folks out there, hardworking people who go out there and they work and they make their money and they put it in NIS so that they can get their NIS benefits when they reach a certain age. Unfortunately, Barra Jagdev and those guys are just cruel and heartless. Look at what they did with NIS monies, huh? Billions upon billions of dollars. He took it and gave it to his friends and cronies for the Berbice River Bridge. We'll talk a little more about the Berbice River Bridge and how he gave the money to his friends and cronies to invest and milk the people of Berbice and across them, milk them. One vehicle cost about 24,000 Guyana dollars to cross, and lots more. I think cars back then was $5,000 and $6,000 for a car. And I'll let you know what happened when one man took a stand for 3 hours and blocked that bridge. Find out who that one guy is. I don't want to be full of myself on this show, but I love you guys. I'll be back tomorrow, same place, same time. God bless you.
Well, the gas raise up and the grocery raise up. I think the government could do something about that, because people taping and raise up top dog, you don't know. That all what I have to say. They should really do something about that.
So, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington law firm located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
Let's get together. Stop all this fussing and fighting. Let's love one another. You gotta help your mother, help your father, help your brothers, help your sisters, help your neighbors and your friends. We are one people, one nation, one destiny. Everybody, y'all. One people, one nation, one destiny. Yeah, yeah. we were separated. Now we are free. That's the way it should be. You gotta help your mother, help your father, help your sister, help your brothers, help your neighbors, and your friends. We are one people, one nation, one destiny. Yeah, yeah. One people, one nation, one destiny. Yeah, 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 yeah. Ooh. We are one people, one nation, one destiny. Yeah, yeah. One people, one nation, one destiny.